Welcome to the PharmaSource podcast. Today's episode is what we're calling a CDMO session, focusing on Olon Group. Choosing the right contract development and manufacturing organisation is one of the most critical decisions that biopharmaceutical companies can make. It couldn't be more important to find a long-term partner that's aligned to your strategic objectives, has a track record for quality and delivery, strong capabilities for innovation, and is the right fit for your budget. So the CDMO Sessions are a series of interviews with leaders at key contract manufacturers where we find out what makes them stand out from the rest. Today I'm speaking with two VPs from Olon Group. Andrea Conforto is responsible for the biotech side of the business, and Roberta Pachera, who is responsible for small molecules. We started off with Andrea talking about biotech.
My name is Andrea Conforto.
Nice to meet you, Andrea.
Nice to meet you too.
Olon is a big, internationally renowned CDMO, and you split your organization into two main areas. Could you explain those two areas, please?
Sure, absolutely. So basically, we have two CDMO divisions within Olon. One is named Biotech, and one is named Small Molecules, and the Global Key Account Management. I'm responsible of the Biotech division that support customers for what we consider biotech, that is basically microbial fermentation technology.
Perfect. And we're going to be speaking to Roberta later on, so she can tell us about her side of the business too.
Right.
So let's start off then talking about the biotech business. Could you introduce that side of the business to listeners, please, and tell us what makes Olon unique?
Sure. Within the biotech division, CDMO Biotech, we have two manufacturing sites that are both located in Italy. One basically in the north of Italy, close to Turin in Settimo Torinese, and another one in the south that is in Capua, in Campania region. So basically in Olon, we can offer different kinds of services, mainly focused on commercial production. In these two sites, we have different kind of fermentation capability that we can offer, from small sites from 1 to 3 cubic meters that we can run in GMP mode, up to the large volumes that is in between 35, 50 cubic meters, up to 112 cubic meters, and the biggest one that is 255 cubic meters. So say that we can really support a project at early, let's say, clinical stages, in which we need, relatively small volumes, up to the large commercial production in which we need, 100,000 of liters of capacity.
And how would you say that you are different to the other CDMOs? Why do customers come to you?
Sure. First of all, because of the experience. These two production sites that are part of the network of Olon Biotech have long history in production mainly of API via microbial fermentation. These two sites, one is an ex-DSM site that was acquired in 2019. Another one is historically part of the group of Olon. In these two sites, microbial fermentation was already implemented in the 70s, so we have around 50 plus years experience making production via microbial fermentation. In particular, one of the two sites, that is the one located in Capua, has been starting CDMO activities more than 15 years ago already. So really there, in both sites, we have large experience with different kind of strain and microorganisms. In addition to that, I've been able to also run projects with the PICA. We can also manage at large scale methanol feed induction. So from 1 cubic meters up to the biggest scale of 112 cubic meters. That is quite, not standard for the market, let's say in this way.
Could you give me some examples, please, of the kind of work that you've been doing? Obviously, what you're allowed to say.
Unfortunately, all the, let's say, pharma projects that we are running today are covered by a confidential agreement, so I cannot share and disclose name of the product and the customers. But I can tell you that the pipeline is growing in the last few years. This is mainly to the trend of new product launching that are, let's say, in clinical phase 2 and 3. It is mainly connected for the business that we do for the therapeutic protein for oral application. So basically, the sites are very well designed to support large volumes that usually is connected or to injectable small molecules or therapeutic protein or enzymes for mainly oral application. And then we are seeing that there is a trend in which these are increasing these kind of products, including also enzymes used for pharmaceutical, mainly for oral application, or just used within the pharmaceutical process production itself. And then it's fitting perfectly with our strategy of growth and with the assets that we have in both production sites in Italy.
Let's talk about your best practices for how you like to work with pharma organizations, please. What does a good collaborative partnership look like?
We are very flexible in the sense that we are used to work with very large and big structured pharmaceutical corporation, and also with small startups companies in which the organization is much more flexible. Let's say in this way, there are less people to interact with, and also the speed of the project is different. Saying that, we are used to readapt the communication and the project implementation approach based on the customer needs and the organization. We prefer to have a sort of mirror team from our side to interact directly with our customer side. So based on the size of the company that we are working with, we try to have the right size of a project team that can interact directly. We promote a lot the direct communication within the project submatter experts. In this way, there is a clear communication between the two teams, having, of course, under the overview of the project manager that is assigned. Saying that, we can also readapt a bit the project organization compared to the customer needs, in the sense that sometimes speed is a key milestone, maybe for startups that are also subject some milestones to funding rounds. In this case, speed is a must. In this case, we can be very flexible in trying to overlap as much as possible, as reasonable possible, project stages in order to match our customers' timeline. And of course, to support them, having two sites located in Italy, which there is no language barriers, we can support customers from both sides in parallel. So it's not uncommon that some projects that started in one site have been later on transferred to the other sites, or in parallel running activities both for process development or for production. The focus of the CDMO Biotech division is to being able to support for commercial production, but we can support also for the clinical stages. Usually, we try to separate the project stages depending on the clinical phase of the product and the maturity of the production product itself. When we start a project, we start with a tech transfer phase, followed by a confirmation stage that we run first at lab and then at pilot. Then, depending also if there is really need to make some, process adaptation to fit better the process within our infrastructure, we can test, technology that we have available on site to avoid any investment to our customer. Or vice versa, if the customer is coming to us with, a not really robust process, we can then support also for all the studies needed to prove the critical parameters, and as well also to improve some maybe DSP, purification project stage. In this case, we can support with some R&D activities and supporting the implementation of the project. Also taking into account that Olon is also a long history for the generics API production, we can also use our know-how that we have from the development of our APIs to support the industrialization of the process for our customer. The same also from the sides of looking for the right raw materials on the market, and try also to get some synergy, to get some price reduction on raw material.
What best practices could you share with our listeners, please, about how to get the most of working with a CDMO such as yourself?
We need to understand really which are the needs of our customer, which are the goals of the project, and which are the drivers. Because understanding really what's the customer drivers and the goals, so we can try to match as much as possible their needs and their expectation. Sometimes, there are customers asking to do something without giving the background of the request. And then, we are not knowing if you're doing the right things for them or not. But if there is an open environment speaking, which, you can better understand why your customer is asking for something, then you can propose something that is even better from operational point of view, because we are operational experts, but we don't know the business case of our customers. So as much as possible, the customer can share information with us. We can support not only in executing what they would like to, but also maybe making recommendation on the best way of making the project, or potentially highlighting some others, routes or ways to arrive to the common goal. Let me say, I cannot disclose names of customer and projects, but also it is not uncommon, mainly for the biotech division, to build up on scratch DSP purification lines. When we speak with customer, the intention is to reduce the investment as much as possible. All these new lines that we have built up in the last 5 years, and can be around 6 years, we built up 5 DSP purification suites. Because at the end, understanding which are the customer needs, jointly decided how to go from reuse as much as possible what we have in-house to let's try to have the best possible asset for my project. So it's a switch of mind that we made jointly after understanding their business case, their needs, and what we can offer. At one point, you can change the way to reach the common goal if you understand which is the goal and the rationale behind that. Being very open in speaking between parties, I'm sure that the collaboration can be very strong and move from, from a customer approach to a partner approach.
And has that proven successful in keeping costs down? Because obviously that's such a big issue for everybody right now.
Absolutely. That's why I'm saying at early stage, we understand that the customer doesn't want to invest money in asset. And it's absolutely right. So we try to use as much as possible all the technology available. I'm mainly referring to purification. We have, like in Capa, we have more than 10 purification suites that we can offer, but it's not really designed for the process of our customers. So it has to be readapted. Sometimes there is a very good fit. Sometimes there is, relatively good fit that is acceptable to start a new project, but is not really suitable for a commercial production. In this case, we can find, the right way to build up a DSP line. Yeah, it's true that there is investment behind, but after that, the cost of goods can be reduced dramatically, or at least can be reduced at the target price of our customers. And of course, this is also implied that will be a long-term collaboration between Olon and our customer, because after investing money on sites, we are moving from a customer to a partner approach. Mm-hmm. In this case, it will be a jointly journey between the companies, and this is complex, absolutely. But at the end, if you can find a way to make it win-win, it's an extremely satisfying way of working.
Thank you, Andrea. Next, we're going to take a look at the small molecules side of Olon's business with Roberta Pachera. Roberta, thank you so much for joining us. Would you mind introducing your side of the business to listeners, please?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Roberta Pachera, and I'm Vice President of the CDMO Small Molecule. First of all, I think we need to think about the value chain of the drug development, and where we are positioning, because Olon Group is positioned as a global leader in the manufacturing and production, research and development of active pharmaceutical ingredients. And this means drug substance that we produce on behalf of either can be innovators or generic companies. Some of the questions I always have from my customer, for example, is the origin of the name Olon. So where does this name come from? The Olon etymology comes from a Greek word that means olons, that means whole and total. And the meaning of the company is reflecting how the company has grown. So that means that the whole is more than the sum of individual parts. Why? Because in 2003, the company was founded by acquisition of 3 additional companies, highly specialized in the microbial fermentation. And then in the following years, acquisition by acquisition, they enter into the small molecule manufacturing in 2016 with the acquisition of Infa Group. And then, of course, on top of that, they added also additional acquisition in 2018, 2019, where we expand the biotech part with the Capua Bioscience in production, and with a former Novartis API plant in India. So you can see that the company has the two main, I would say, category of products, so the small molecule and the biotech parts.
And yes. Small molecules, that's the side of the business that you yourself look after, Roberta?
Yes, I lead the team and the part focusing primarily on production of intermediates or final API on behalf of innovators. That means large companies or also mid-size and smaller startups.
So if I were a customer, what is it you'd say that differentiates Olon when it comes to research and development and the types of services that you provide?
So the strength for CDMO, in particular for Olon, I always say we need to keep in mind what are the needs of our customers. So most of the time is to support them in reducing the time to market, at the same time having high quality of products. So Olon, in such sense, can support our customer throughout the entire product life cycles, because we can start with the preclinical services through our site in US Orb, and then we can support the progression of the molecule into our manufacturing sites in Europe or in India for supporting phase 2, phase 3, and also commercial production. So essentially, we can cover the entire life cycle, the product life cycle, staying within the same companies, and this helps a lot in reducing the time to market, because you don't need to go through multiple technology transfer from one company to another. Everything is under the same roof. On top of that, we have a different technology platform. So also in terms of flexibilities that we can, from technology standpoint, we can provide to our customer. It's important because we have a toolbox for small molecules, but where we can, for example, produce highly potent substances, controlled substances, and other classes of compounds. And along with that, of course, with the biotech parts, we can produce peptides, proteins, and enzyme. So nowadays, for supporting a specific therapeutic areas, some specific therapeutic areas can be tackled with new different modalities. So we can do part of them.
Mm-hmm. Are there any specific examples that you're able to share, please?
Of course, we need to maintain the confidentialities, no? But what I can tell you, for example, is that during the COVID situation, of course, we were involved in supporting a small startup that they had a very interesting product for the treatment of COVID. And of course, you think about the emergency use application that this company did. So they shrink from early phase to commercial. They shrink in terms of timelines to reach the market was very important. So we could support in less than 18 months from initial preclinical manufacturing activities in producing the clinical batches to support phase two clinical studies. So we help a lot in having this model. This was very positive and allowed them to start the clinical studies on time.
Could you talk, please, about how you like to partner with pharma organizations? Best practices that you'd share for listeners about the way that they can get the best out of CDMOs such as Olon?
I think we need to keep in mind that Olon is a service provider. So there are some intangible, like for example, in my opinion, so the flexibility and reliability are crucial aspects of the service we provide. Because particularly the reliability is important because we are we are very much linked to our innovators in order to ensure they have the drug substance or the intermediates we produce on time to support their clinical study. So I think trust and transparency are key tracks of a service provider like Olon that we never miss. So in terms of best practice, I would go to, for example, we have a very innovative R&D team, and a part of that innovation is linked to sustainability. And what we started applying, and this is something that we offer to our customer, is that we use modern tool to measure the greenness of our chemical processes. So what we do is we measure the process mass intensity at the beginning of a process and at the end, so that our customer, they know how much greener is the process has become after we make some development work. It's important, I would say, for the CDMO is to keep the level of innovation high. So in such sense, look, I would say that there are two aspects that are at core of Olon, in particular for also small molecule, but also in the biotech. One is the strong collaboration with particular small startup, small biotech, because nowadays also the innovation model has shifted more towards small companies and startups. But the other is to remain linked to academia. And Olon, I would say, is very much linked to national academia present in Italy, of course, but also in Netherlands and in US. So this is very important for particularly because we have 300 people in R&D. So to stay at the state of the art of what is innovation in academia and in smaller companies.
Is there any advice you could share for someone who wants to try to make sure they keep a handle on cost, steps or processes that people could take so that they can work with you in the most efficient way possible?
When you are a manufacturing company like Olon, you need to manufacture a large quantity of either intermediates or final API. So modern tool like the process modeling can support in order to maintain or to help companies in the cost production cost while improving the quality and the performance. Because nowadays we can apply some aspects of the quality by design and modeling tool in the production that particularly this can be applicable to large production, but this can be offered a tool, a way of working that might help in reducing the cost.
Thank you, Roberta, and thank you, Andrea, for your insights today. If you want to find out more, you can head to olonspa.com. Thank you for listening to today's episode, and don't forget to go to pharmasource.global/events to find out about our upcoming live events, workshops and webinars, which are all free to attend for procurement and sourcing professionals working in the pharma industry.